Score attack, or challenge in EN, is a rotating boss challenge, where high scores are achieved to grant rewards. Currently in EN, the max score required is 90k for all rewards. This will increase in the future. Score attack has the following components to calculate your score: difficulty bonus, turn bonus, and no break bonus are all dependent on the difficulty. Highest hit score is the highest damage you've done in one turn. And rule multiplier is based off of the rules that you have chosen. 90k high score is actually very easily achieved by either beating difficulty 94 without any rules or defeating difficulty 91 while taking all the rule sets. Any runs higher than that is just basically showing off. Damage multipliers can be broken apart into three main parts: damage potency, general multipliers, and weakness multipliers. Damage potency changes depending on the SP cost of the skill, the amount of enemies hit by the skill, and buffs and demerits that are part of the skill. Next are general multipliers. The following are the general multipliers: skill enhance buffs, defense down debuffs, elemental zones, HP or DP modifiers, totems, multi-hit buffs, critical damage, and devastation. Within weakness multipliers, there are the following categories: weapon damage type weakness, elemental type weakness, tactical vision, and the exposed debuff. Lastly, all damage has randomness. This range is 20% or plus or minus 10%. Each portion of the multipliers are multiplicative with each other, so having buffs and debuffs within different categories will greatly enhance your damage capabilities. There are subgroups, or additive multipliers within each group. Within skill enhances, there are skill enhance, elemental skill enhance, charge, accessory bonuses, passive skills, and overdrive bonuses. Within defense debuffs, there are defense down, elemental defense down, and passives. Later in JP, permanent defense, elemental permanent defenses, and DP defenses are added to this list. Multi-hit contains multi-hit buff and multi-hit passives, like Kaden Limit Break 3. Crit damage contains innate crit damage buffs, elemental crit damage buffs, and passives. Most buffs and debuffs are consumed 2 at a time unless stated otherwise. Team formation. Team formation starts with picking your main damage dealer and creating a team behind them. A damage dealer may or may not come with a perk that will improve their damage. For example, attackers will typically provide themselves with an HP modifier. Breakers will provide themselves with a DP modifier, and blasters can further increase devastation. Once your damage dealer is chosen, the rest of your squad will need to support the team. To fill 4 of the 5 remaining slots, the following should be considered for buffs and debuffs. Top priority for buffs will include the critical rate buff, the hit count buff, large skill enhance buff, and the tactical vision. High priority will require elemental zones, critical damage, elemental crit damage, exposed or the vulnerable debuff, large elemental skill enhance, elemental defense down. Middle priority is just defense down. All other buffs or debuffs like invigorating and enfeeble are considered the lowest priority. Conditionally, if you are using a Squad 31F member as your main damage dealer, you may opt for bringing charge. Here, I will break down how to build a squad to tackle bosses. First, gotta choose a damage dealer that is not resisted. And then, look at top priority buffs. In general, for crit hit chance, Seika 2 and Seda 1 will be your go-to buffers. If you unfortunately don't own either of them, then the critical orb will be needed for your damage dealer to crit. If your damage dealer doesn't provide themselves with hit count buffs, Yingxia 1 will be pivotal to your support line. For large skill enhancers, there'll be options. Yingxia 1, Seika 1 or 2, Tsukasa 2, and Waki 2. If your damage dealer is hitting weakness, Minori can be considered as a tactical vision buffer. But currently, I wouldn't consider that necessary. For high priority buffs and debuffs, we will start with fields. The following provide a 50% increase in damage for their respective element until the field is overwritten. Tsukasa 1, Mari 1, Seika 1, Miya 1, and Iroha 1. Crit damage is only provided by Seika 2, but you can actually also increase it using the crit damage orb. In the event you're hitting weakness, Exposed and Vulnerable will be incredibly useful. Megu 2, any of the Miyas, Kozue 2, Maki 1, and Aina S can supply this debuff. Elemental skill enhances and elemental defense debuffs are just as valuable. Ichiko 1 will increase fire skills enhance, while Isuzu S will provide single target fire defense down. And her SS variant will decrease fire defense for all enemies. Bungo is the only one who can reduce ice defense and will do so on all enemies. Tama 3, which is just released, can provide thunder skill enhance, while Koju S, a welfare, can reduce a single enemy's defense for thunder. Light has Waki 2 to increase the team's light damage, while Hisame 1 will reduce light defense for a single enemy. Dark houses Shiki 1 for dark skill enhance, and Hisame 1 to reduce dark defense for a single enemy. For mid priorities, we have generic defense debuffs. The following are options for these defense debuffs. If you're using a member of 31F as your main damage dealer, it is highly likely they will have a condition for increasing damage with a charge buff. Shiki S and Yanagi 1 can provide this buff. If a boss has high devastation, it can be important to bring a blaster that can increase the devastation quickly. For the final slot, a healer for sustain will be incredibly helpful, unless you can kill the boss before anyone dies. If a team needs further support in survival, the following can be considered. The following steps need to be taken in order to reach high scores in score attack. First, the boss's DP needs to get broken, so you can start stacking the devastation. Once you get the devastation to a high amount or maximum, and the OD is 1 to 3, as well as your buffs being double stacked, then you'll be popping OD and hopefully enough SP and enough turns to double stack all your debuffs. At the end of OD, make sure that your damage dealer will deal the damage with all their buffs and all debuffs applied.